Ready?
We are.
And we're on. Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody at home. Today is the, 19th of March, and the time right now is 7:35, and we're going to be starting the town board meeting for Monroe. Just a few housekeeping orders. You have the exits towards the back, and in back of us, off to your right, and then you have the restrooms out in the corridor. So, with that part, may we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right now, we're going to kick off the meeting with a proposed law on a public notice for the proposed law of number 4 of 2018, no solicitation.
Make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Can I get a second?
I second it.
Okay, all in favor from my left to right, state your name.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, yes.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any speakers for that, Mary Ellen?
Well, we have signed up for public speaking. Would anybody like to come up and address the public for the proposed law for peddling and soliciting? Any of the audience?
Does anybody have any comments to make on that?
Nobody on the local law?
Very important.
Going once, going twice, the no solicitation law? No?
Okay, at this point, we'll leave it open till the end of the meeting, public comment, in case anybody wants to make additional comment.
Yeah, we should continue it.
Yeah, well, I'll make a motion that we continue it to the next board meeting and keep it open for written comment for Mr. Nugent, 10 days, or should we wait till after the...
Well, I think we can just continue the public hearing at this point, but we need to set a date and a time, so if
Okay,
Beans
Mary
can
Ellen,
give
the
us
next meeting is...
testing you.
Testing me. I believe it should be April 2nd.
Yes,
That's what I have.
April 2nd and 7:30?
April 2nd, 7:30.
30, fine.
All right, so I'll make a motion, we keep the...
Public comment open?
keep
Public
public
hearing.
comment open until, and continue the hearing on April 2nd at 7:30.
And that'll be for written comments henceforth, correct?
Well, I think we should just continue it for public comment for that evening as well.
Okay.
So just continue the public hearing. The local law should be posted on the website. If anyone wants to review it and make comments, including the board members, we can do that.
All
Okay,
right.
I'd like to second that.
Okay, so can we have a vote on that?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Again, yes.
Okay, moving right along. Approval of the minutes, approval for the April 5th, February 5th.
I have to apologize, I could not get the February 5th ones to print when I made an attempt, and we're just getting it in the packet now. I am prepared for the other two meetings, but I'm not prepared for the February 5th one.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll table it February 5th. And February 26th?
I had some revisions for that,
Please.
and I had spoken to the town clerk already, but if you would like them to,
Just briefly.
just briefly, okay.
Mary, give us the page it's on, too, so this way I'll reflect it in the motion.
Sure. On the February 26 minutes, on page... It would be the third page, discussion item number 4.9, background checks. I believe the words elected or appointed should be added to those minutes. And the other one was not a problem with the minutes, it was a problem with board docs for the
Yeah,
video
that's a video
recording.
clip, so that would not be
was-
anything to do with the minutes.
That has nothing to do with the minutes. So that was the only change I had to the February 26th minutes.
Okay,
25th.
6.
6th, okay.
so the motion will reflect that those changes will be done.
Right.
So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as revised.
March 5th, anybody else?
Well, you need a second. Let's do one at a
Second.
I will
time.
second it.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, yes.
March 5th.
Okay. For the March 5th minutes, on the first page, number 4, new business 4.1 core BTS. I believe the effective date of 3/15/2018 should be added to the minutes. The other thing was on page 2, 4.7 electronic recycling days. The motions did not mention the November dates, even though I know it was listed in some of the paperwork. When we read the motion, it only mentioned the 2 April dates, so I would like the November dates to be taken out of those minutes. And I believe that was all the changes that I had. Oh, there was one other thing, but it had to do with the, I hadn't discussed it with the town clerk yet. It's on page page 4. There was a motion made for 5 vacation days to be carried over. So I don't, that wasn't, I didn't see that on board docs. So as I said, I haven't had a chance to discuss it yet with the town clerk to see how that could be adjusted.
So why don't we just hold this one? Because that would be after executive session when you guys came out. That
Right,
motion
when
was
we
done
came
then.
out, right.
Yeah, so let's just hold that so I can review the,
You want to
review
review the video clip, so we'll hold off on this minute.
okay?
And those were my changes. And as I said, it's part of is still the learning process with board docs. Technology is wonderful.
To a point.
So I'll take care of those, check the, that motion for the vacation days and the after executive, and present these for the April 2nd.
Thank
So
you.
the March 5th will be held over till the next meeting,
Yes.
the approval.
Yes.
All right? Under old business, a copy to secure a part-time or full-time replacement position to the assessor's office. Title to be determined. April, you want to come up and address the board?
Good evening.
Good evening, April.
Hi, April.
How are you? I had submitted some documentation regarding replacing Moses Fridlish, who is the assistant assessor. He recently got a position as an assessor in the town of Blooming Grove, so we're very happy for him, but we're in dire need of replacing that position. I did have in the memo that I need a full-time position, and if I am unable to obtain that, I would need 2 part-time positions. So really, we do need to fill it with a full-time position. However, it is a very unique set of skills that you need to hold this position. So I may actually have difficulties in acquiring a full-timer, whereas I would like to have the approval for at least 2 part-timers. I know there were some issues with the fact that Palm Tree being formed may alleviate some of the work in our office, and that's why I compiled some numbers. Just to indicate, even without the Village of Curious Joel, we are severely overworked, and there is a great need to replace this position. I had done some analysis on the counties, some of the larger ones and the adjoining counties, the adjoining municipalities, I apologize, within the county. Typically, the county employee, the ratio of employees to parcels, the highest count in the county right now is the town of Newburgh at 2,600 parcels per full-time equivalent, because you do have part-timers. The town of Monroe is currently over 3,000 per. Title transfers, we have the largest number in the county. We always have over the last 15 years. So right now, for a full-time equivalent employee in the other municipalities, they average almost consistently approximately 167 title transfers per full-time equivalent. We average right now 285. So we're far above workload-wise what any other municipality in the county is doing. Now, I backed out the numbers and the parcels for Curious Joel just to see, and I even proved to myself, we really are very overworked. If we remove the parcels from Curious Joel, it leaves 7,862 parcels in the town outside, Village of Harriman, and Village of Monroe. With the full-time equivalents, if they remained at 4, which is what we are running with right now, that's 19,066 parcels per full-time equivalent. And to give you an example, Town of Walk Hill, 2,185, City of Middletown, 1,700, Town of Montgomery, 1,300, Town of Blooming Grove, 1,800, Town of Woodbury, 1,300. So even if we stripped out, Town of Palm Tree, Village of Curious Joel, we're still at the high end of that spectrum with the workload. It brings the title transfers right in line, 167. All right, so I did provide you guys with that document just to show you that we are far overworked. I also provided you a lot of times, I know the residents don't know, and I don't even think the town board members know exactly what the assessor's office does. We do a lot of stuff. Hold on one moment, let me get my train of thought here. I wrote them in the memo. Our office is currently monitoring over 1,000 building permits. We are responsible for physically collecting, sketching, entering inventory, and valuing these improvements. The time necessary to process these permits can take anywhere from 10 minutes to over several hours, depending on the complexity. Of the open permits, 908 are issued to the town, the Village of Monroe and Harriman. Only 98 are the Village of Curious Joel, and they are primarily new construction. Now, that being said, those 98 are very complex. What they're building in there is not an average house or a commercial building. There are currently several subdivisions throughout the town that will add approximately 475 new homes within the next few years, on top of the routine additions, pools, renovations, etc. The current staffing levels of the building departments are as follows. Town of Monroe, 3.5 full-time equivalents. Village of Monroe, 2 full-time equivalents. Village of Harriman, 1.5 full-time equivalents. Village of Curious Joel, 1.5 full-time equivalents, and an engineering company. Okay, considering building permits are only one part of our workload, we are currently operating at a deficit of 1 part-time employee for the Town of Monroe Building Department alone. What that means is this year we're looking very carefully at the values that we need to get on the roll. I'm under the gun with time. Everything is deadlines. So these values have to be put on prior to May 1st. Our roll has to go over to the county and be established. And I've got a lot of work to do in a very short amount of time. Another huge function of our office is exemption administration. We currently have 5,792 exemptions. 1,050 require annual renews. All require supporting documentation that must be collected, reviewed, and approved in compliance with New York State real property tax law. 878 of the renewals are based on income, which involves intense scrutiny. The entire process is daunting and requires multiple mailings, phone calls, in addition to actual collection, review, application, and/or removal of these exemptions on our database. Only 151 of those 1,050 are from the Village of Curious Joel. That's only based on the fact that the school district in Curious Joel adopts the village roll, not the town roll. If we were handling those, we'd have all of the enhanced, which would probably be another 500. The deadline for filing these exemptions, along with ascertaining the status of the aforementioned building permits, is taxable status date of March 1, which makes it crucial that this position be filled immediately. In addition to building permits and exemptions, our office is a constant flurry of activity. We are also required to review and record over 1,000 title transfers annually, utilize MLS during the title transfers to maintain accurate inventory, maintain all bank codes for homeowners utilizing escrow accounts, update mailing addresses, quote new construction and renovation values, provide tax payment estimates to potential buyers, real estate agents, and title companies, calculate and prepare rollbacks to collect taxes from recently purchased properties that were not entitled to exemptions granted from the previous owners. We have to go in and do an analysis, and we do recoup that money. Mail exemption removal notices upon title transfers. Process approximately 150 informal reviews for homeowners who believe their assessments are too high. This cuts down on the Board of Assessment review, not only what they have to review, but what we spend paying them to come in and review them. We do them informally throughout the year. It's a courtesy that we provide the homeowners. We process the formal grievance, attend all meetings, prepare and post current sales listings, and produce the final report for the Board of Assessment Review. We have to defend all small claims assessment reviews, defend all certiorari cases. Most of those I work and I settle prior to them going to the attorneys. This way, we are not expending the kind of money that we used to defending these big box store, if you will, cases.
April?
Yeah, you don't want me to read the whole thing?
No, I mean, you're going on and on and on. I don't think it's necessary that we know every single nuance.
Okay, I'll get to the end
What
of
I'm
it.
getting, no, what I'm getting to is this. You're requesting either 2 part-timers or a full-timer.
Absolutely.
Now,
Yep.
if you get the full-timer, that means that individual will be able to work overtime if need be on a regular basis. If you get 2 part-timers, they can only work a limited number of times.
Absolutely. The full-time
And-
salaried,
and-
yeah.
and-
No overtime.
Right. What I'm trying to say is that wouldn't it be more effective to get the 1 full-timer?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm requesting?
So that,
Yes,
so let's cut to the chase.
yes.
You need a full-timer.
I need a full-timer.
And now you're gonna have to get that off the list, correct?
Yes, civil service,
So-
there is a list existing, we've pulled it, we're ready to canvass the letters now.
Right. Now, should you not find anybody acceptable, at that point, then the list is then broken, and then you would advertise and go outside that list, which would mean that you would have to then individually train that individual so they can take the test.
Yes, provisional,
Be provisional,
absolutely.
take the test,
Yep.
and then hopefully pass it, and by that time, you'll be okay.
Yes,
Did I get that?
yes.
Great. So, at this point, do you need permission to hire?
Yes, I need the board to approve to.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Well,
Councilman Cl-
are you going to nominate the individual, or is the board, in other words, when you canvassing, obviously you have to get results at this point, so, and then nominate somebody to get the list from which you can appoint. So, in other words, where are you in the process so far with the list?
Human Resource has already asked for the list, they have it in-house, and the canvass letters are ready to go out.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know the legalities of what you're speaking
Well,
of
so
right now.
typically, we would canvass and then come back with, those individuals, depending on who responds and where they are on the list, who's
Correct.
eligible, the 1 and 3 rule.
Correct.
So, the board can basically authorize that process to go forward, and if the board wants to review the candidates that, are going to respond positively, or if you want to simply accept Ms. McDonald's recommendation on, who the person should be, ultimately, you'll still have to appoint, but you don't know who to appoint right now.
So at this point, we would recommend that you move forward.
Okay.
Would we have to vote on that?
I think you can just do a short resolution, motion to authorize Ms. McDonald to continue soliciting a full-time employee for that position and to go through the process with Human Resources and report back to the town board with the possible candidates.
So at this point, I'd like to have one of the board members make a recommendation.
I'll make a motion that the canvas letters be sent out by the HR department, and when you have a suitable candidates, report back to the town board, and we will take it up then.
Thank you very much.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Can I get a vote on this from left to right, please?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, I
Nugent, I have no vote.
So
I am the next
April,
thing on the agenda as
go.
well, so.
please continue to move forward this process. Keep us abreast on who
Okay.
you have, if you have to break the list or whatever is needed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
You
I
wanna
think I'm
move
the
to
next
your
on the
second,
agenda also.
You want to move on to your second item that you want to
I
discuss?
do, yes.
Okay.
Just getting to that.
This one's simple, and it may not even come to fruition because Moses is extremely busy, but I just wanted authorization to hire Moses Fridlish on a per diem basis of $25 an hour as needed to get me through to our tentative role. He may have time to, I am not sure. I am also approved for the town of Blooming Grove to do the same, just to assist him going into, that's a tough position for him to fill at this time of year.
Right.
How many hours?
I didn't really set the hours. It would be, I know it's in my budget already. I do have contractual in my budget, which I never exceed. So I would say the most he'd probably be able to even give me would be 10.
Per week? Or per
No,
pay
10
period?
total, 10 total. He's
You mean
got
Oh, that's
10
fine.
for
10
the
hours
whole?
total.
10, yeah, just 10 hours total.
fine.
When would this be, until the end of
Till the
April?
tentative roll. Yeah, up until the tentative roll. And if I see that I need, at that point, I can always come before. And like I said, this really is in my budget.
Okay.
I'm just doing it out of formality to, have it in writing and ask permission to have
So
that done.
you're saying 10 hours, but the board, a suggestion could make a resolution to authorize retention of Mr. Friedlich as a consultant in an amount not to exceed, we could say $500, that's 20 hours, but
Not
Yeah,
to
I think
exceed
that,
20
if that's
hours.
appropriate, that's fine. Sounds good.
And if
And
you
when,
need
and
more
when do
than
the
20
roles
hours,
post? I'm sorry, Mr. Cole.
I'm sorry, please continue.
When do the roles post, or when do you have to post them?
May 1 is the tentative roll, July 1st is the final roll. They have to be really done about a week prior because they have to be sent up to the county and then forwarded to the state.
Right.
Yeah, so there's some valuation issues, that if he does have the time, it would be awesome if he would be able to come in and assist me.
Understood.
no, he
Okay.
doesn't work here anymore. He's just consultant.
So,
So do you think that's sufficient, 500?
I do.
As a cap for
I
now?
do.
And then if needed, you could always come back
Yep.
within your budget and seek more hours if necessary.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to make
I
that
believe
motion.
it's in her budget, wouldn't,
It is.
we would still
Yeah.
have to vote on it?
I'll make a motion.
Well, you need the motion to authorize
Right.
him to be hired as a consultant, not really for the financial
hours.
aspect. But if you want to set a limit on it, you can, or you can just say within the confines of the budget that's already assigned for contractual purposes.
Mike?
Whatever your pleasure.
Okay, I'll make a motion that, that you hire, not hire, but retain Moses Friedlich as a consultant based on $25 an hour, so long as it does not exceed the amount in your budget line for that item.
Okay,
Contractual services.
I'd like to second.
Okay, can we call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Me again? Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Okay.
Mr.
Oh, McGinn, aye.
And
We did it already.
Just for the record, if we could, with respect to that, in case people don't know, Moses obviously was employed here, and that's why we wouldn't be seeking outside people or other consultants, because he has the knowledge and expertise from his employment here in the town of
Yes.
Monroe for that
And he has
position.
been cleared and he left on good terms, so I don't see any
Absolutely.
problem with that. Thank you so much.
And well missed. I just wanted to point out one other thing. This is my assessor's clerk, Susan Cagney, my data collector, Roseanne Schneider. They have all been going above and beyond helping me through this, and I just would like to hats off and just to introduce them to you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much,
Nice to meet you.
ladies.
Thank you
Appreciate
for your
the
work. Thank you.
for your service.
Definitely
Thanks.
not an easy job. Moving right along. Our attorney, Mr. Nugent, you're going to talk about the ambulance?
I think,
And we have a
Yes.
speaker for that?
Yeah, I can tell you with respect to the ambulance contract, we have good news that our office had sent a letter to council for the ambulance corps on March 9th with a revised contract that set forth sort of a compromise that on this whole issue of General Municipal Law 122B. I had been in communication via email with Mr. Fitzgerald, the ambulance corps attorney, today, and he, after consulting with the ambulance corps, everybody was in agreement on a revised 2016, 2017, and 2018 contract. So our recommendation tonight would be that the town board pass a resolution authorizing the town supervisor to execute a 2016, 2017, and 2018 ambulance corps contract in a form subject to approval by the legal counsel for both parties. And I don't know if there's anyone from the ambulance corps that has anything to address, but that's where we left it when I came to the meeting.
Nancy, come on up. Oh, come on up.
Come on up, Alan.
how long?
Oh,
Wow.
not good.
See, they work so hard, they even walk in wounded here, so.
Right?
Hi, good evening. I'm Alan Glass. I am the treasurer of Monroe Volunteer Ambulance Corps. I have been in this position for almost 10 years, working with the same certified public accountant, Lori Vreeland, CPA from the firm of KKB&N. You currently have our fiscal year 14, 15, and 16. I now have with me fiscal year 17. All the data that was requested is in this piece of paper, this document. So I'll bring it up to you, and it's yours, of course.
Clerk?
Thanks, I don't want to make you hobble further, but.
And thank you.
And as far as the contract, you summed it up quite nicely. I've been in contact with Mr. Fitzgerald today, and he shares the same opinion that you've just expressed. So I have it in front of me, but it's in draft form.
No, that's
So-
fine.
Yeah, I
Right, you
did,
can't sign the
just so
draft
you know,
form.
about 4 o'clock, I emailed Mr. Fitzgerald 3 contracts that are not draft anymore, those versions. That's why my suggestion is just to make the resolution, because I haven't heard back from Mr. Fitzgerald since that email, and I don't want to approve it as it was submitted to the town board, so we'll say that it'll be authorizing the supervisor to execute the 16, 17, and 18 contracts, subject to approval of the legal counsel for both the ambulance corps and the town.
If you emailed him at 4, that's when I stopped emailing him.
Yeah, so he has
it's probably
them
in
now.
my email today.
Yeah, I
I'll get it
think
in
you're
the
probably
morning.
on that group, so you should have it as well.
Okay.
I'll make that motion that we authorize the supervisor to sign the 2015, 16, 17, and 18 ambulance corps contracts pending review of counsel for both parties.
Perfect.
Second?
Thank you.
I'll second it.
All right, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
And
Applause for that.
There we go.
that's it, it's official.
Yay.
Congratulations. Lightning speed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Again,
thank
thank the
everybody on the
ambulance corps
ambulance.
for everything that you guys do and
Yeah.
the guys and gals do. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Moving along, we have the Zoning Board of Appeal alternate members. Do we have any names that were submitted?
I see the supervisor wanted this set over for executive session.
Okay. At this point, we'll send
Oh, I'm sorry.
a table. for-
You're the
for discussion.
supervisor tonight. Mr. Cardone asked for it to be set over for executive session. I'm sorry.
That's very kind of you. Quite
So I'll make a
honest.
motion that we
Hold
take
it
this up
over?
in executive session.
Okay.
I will second that.
Call the question. Actually, you're right. Yeah, we don't have to. I'm sorry. Yep, you're right.
So at this point, what I would like to do is invite Mr. Rogers up to talk about the lighting districts. Mr. Jim Rogers is a former board member that has served on, how long, how many years on this board?
What's that?
How many years you serve on the board?
24.
24 years.
Yeah.
And still serving the community. Thank you so much, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm here tonight is because the town of Monroe has a lot of lights that are not working, and we're paying for them. And when I was on the board for 24 years, I took care of the town street lights. Why? Because I worked for Orange and Rock, and they said, go ahead, take care of it. It was, so I would ask residents to call me if they had lights that were out, and then the town clerk would turn them into Orange and Rockland, because you need somebody with authority. It can't be an individual or whatnot to get these things fixed and whatnot. And at the end of each year, I would ask if people wanted street lights at intersections upgraded, you know, the amount of lumens and whatnot. And we went from mercury vapor to high pressure sodium. That was 6 years ago. And now we are not getting our upgrades or getting our non-working lights fixed. That's why I'm here. So, mainly, it's the town of Monroe. We have about 300 lights in the town of Monroe. Not the village of Monroe, not Harriman, not Kairos Joel, or village of Palm Tree. Now this is important because the town of Monroe should not be paying for lights that are going to be in the new town of Palm Tree. So we have to look at that very carefully. My maps that I used were 30 years old. We have to have newer maps. Our current budget is $82,200 for streetlights in the unincorporated town of Monroe. Apples versus apples. Examples of other towns around us. The town of Blooming Grove, $7,528. Town of Chester, $9,000. Town of Goshen, $5,000. Why are we so high? From Lakes Road, where the Acorn Pub is, to Village Line, or excuse me, to School Road, one map, Walton Lake area, which includes Cromwell Hill and Walton Lake area. That's one of 10 maps. Has 129 lights. Just about every other pole has a light on it. It's crazy. We're illuminating a county road for no reason. There's no sidewalks. There's nobody using this, and yet it's just been going on year after year after year. Now, that's not including, for instance, Twin Lakes. 30 years ago, maps, Twin Lakes wasn't on there. We have lights in there. All this stuff that's come before the town is not on the old maps. So really, we don't really know where we are as far as, how many lights and whatnot. The bottom line, if you take that one map with 129 lights times $286 per light, and that's a guesstimate because each light is differently priced. But I'm dividing the number of lights into 82.2. We could get rid of 74 lights on that one map and still light all the town intersections, and it would cost only $15,730, a savings of $21,164. So it just gives an example. Now, that is the map with the most lights on it, I have to admit. That's the one that is really the killer for the town as far as budget goes. Now, back to the other towns around us. The town of Goshen, no lights at road intersections. None. Go up to Burke School, go down, no matter where you drive around the town of Goshen, no lights at intersection. Town of Chester, hit and miss. Some intersections lit. Town of Blooming Grove, no lights at intersections, except in Oxford Depot and Salisbury Mills, little hamlets. And of course, it's Blooming Grove, $7,500. So I would like the town, we have lights at intersections and cul-de-sacs. We have more lights than towns around us, and our budget shows it. We're 9 to 10 times higher than other towns, and we have most of all our intersections lit for public safety. So I would like the town to ask O&R for updated maps. Right now, we don't know how many lights we have, but we still pay $82,200. We don't know where they are. I found out that we have been paying for a street light on Old Dutch Hollow Road in Warwick for 30 years.
What?
It's at an Orange and Rockland gas pipeline station in Warwick. I went in and checked it out. That's the pole number. We've been paying it. How it got there, it's not on our maps, but somehow it got there. And I'm sure Warwick is not going to reimburse the town of Monroe.
I'm sure Mike Sweeten is very happy about that.
Yeah. But this is why we need updated maps, So we can probably do with about 200 lights. Still have all our intersections lit and save the town roughly $30,000. So I would like to work with someone on the board to sit down with O&R, go over these issues, and try to redo our streetlight costs while still providing public safety at our intersections and cul-de-sacs. This won't cost the town a dime. Just get facts so the board can make an intelligent decision. If you have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for putting all this information together. Great work. So you answered one of the questions that O&R would provide those maps. Would they be charging us like a removal fee for taking these lights off the system, or
No.
All right.
Well, I say no. Of course, I work for Orange and Rockland, retired from Orange and Rockland, but guess what? You know, when they say, and I went over with Peter Martin, Orange and Rockland says, we don't give out maps anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I don't buy that.
Yeah.
If we're paying them $82,000 a year, you either give us the maps or you don't get paid. Period. You
I
have to
think that
get
would be a
tough.
good way to approach the,
And you really, you
been
tell them
about-
what you want lit, and if they keep them lit, we're not paying for them. That's the reason we need upgraded maps. There's several ones along Orchard Hill, that whole development up there. It's not on these maps.
Yeah.
We have them, we're paying for them, and, you know.
Neil Winter, is he still governmental affairs for ONR, for our area?
Mike, no. Mike Grant, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I met Neil at the Association of Towns. He lives here in Monroe. So
Okay.
he has a vested interest in
Yeah.
laying out the tax dollars for his
But,
lights.
you know, you need somebody on the board that would turn around. It can't be a person that was on the board, sits down, because they have to be somebody that
With
is
authority.
on a current board too. Just like I couldn't turn in, I would always go to Mary Ellen and say, here, this is what the upgrades we need. It has to go through some entity for Orange and Rockland to recognize. So
That's a
it can't be.
perfect job for the supervisor.
Yeah.
I think that's
not the acting, I think that the supervisor
No,
should
not
take
the
that
acting
out.
supervisor, the full-time.
The full-time
it's-
supervisor.
So we have lights on private roads, we have lights all over the place that really, we're all paying for them. I mean, if the town wants to get really stupid and put them on all private roads and all over the place, I mean, you'd be great. You know, you'd be the heroes. But guess what? It would go from 82 to 182.
Yeah.
The reason is, we have, as a town, have more public safety on intersections and cul-de-sacs, which the other towns don't, and we're still 9 to 10 times higher. It's crazy.
Yeah. Now, with upgrades, like, I guess the latest upgrade would be what, LED? Is that what it would be?
That could be, yes. I don't know if that would probably be an upgrade, we got 3 upgrades per year
Really?
for free. Now, we're not getting anything right now, because nobody is really taking the bull by the horns and saying, here.
That hasn't been done since you left office.
Yes. So, you know, the town is losing out on it.
Would you be willing to be like a consultant for the town and work with the supervisor's office to try to straighten out this mess?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
For free. For free.
For free, you sure?
Absolutely. I don't want to know.
We don't want you,
I'm
you know-
doing it because I see we are spending so much more than other towns. I'm not trying to take things away from people, but on the same token, we're giving much more than other towns around us, and we're getting,
Yeah, that Lakes Road number's crazy.
Well, I think the
Really.
bigger problem also is we're lighting up a lot of roads we don't have to, especially the
Right.
county roads. so.
but all I want to do really is get permission from the board, work with somebody on the board, sit down with Orange and Rockland, come up with some kind of thing where this is what we want, give it to the board, let the public have input on it, and you make a decision, yes or no.
Okay.
All right.
If you want to stay with the 82 too, fine and dandy. But at least somebody, even if you stay with what you're doing, somebody on the board has to keep it up from this point on, because there's a lot of work initially to go out and see what's working, not doing it. I did it once, 2 weeks it took me.
All right, well,
And
I
it
think
was
what we
tough.
can do is authorize the supervisor to look into that with you and reach out. And if anything, I would like to get that Warwick light off after 32 years, maybe get a rebate from them, you know?
I mean, listen, it's very, you know, gracious and generous of you to offer your time to do so. You know, we appreciate it. Listen, for free works for me, don't get me wrong, but are you sure you don't want any compensation for this?
No.
Okay. All right,
no.
well,
I want to straighten it out for
We'll
the
have to buy them
town.
lunch or something.
That's all.
Yeah, we'll make 25.
All right?
All right, so I'd like to make a motion that we retain Mr. Rogers as an unpaid consultant to work with the supervisor's office to do an analysis of our lighting district, and so we
And to
can
obtain the
make
lighting
necessary changes.
It'll take somebody with authority, like Tony, the supervisor, or someone on the board
Yeah.
to get a hold of Mike Grant and sit down
Right.
and see where we are.
That's what I figured. I mean, it's best that, hey, I'm the supervisor from the town calling for those maps.
Right.
And you know what? And then he has the full-time, he's got people there that he can
Right.
delegate those to. We would certainly help him. I'm just
And
kidding.
I'm sure that
We're
O&R
trying
will
to
help
him.
us also.
Yeah,
I'm
he'll
not-
tap into, if he needs us, he'll tap into us to help him, so. So, well, thank you very much,
All right,
Jim.
thank you.
Oh,
Thank
right,
you.
So I got the motion to do.
Can we get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so
Great work.
who second that?
Sal.
Sal?
Sal? And this is to retain Mr. Rogers as an unpaid consultant to work with the supervisor
Right,
in Orange and Rockland
yes,
for the town of Monroe.
To do an analysis of the lighting
Do-
districts.
street lighting districts.
Okay.
Could we get a
Okay.
vote?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. Now, this is going to be a very contentious one. Renaming of the T-Mac or Monroe Movie Theater.
I believe we were going to kind of, do we open that up for discussion?
Yeah,
Mr.
let's open it up for
Supervisor?
discussion right now. I'll make that motion to open up for discussion.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
All right.
I think at the last meeting, we had discussed it, and we were going to kind of leave it open to get some input from the public on what their thoughts were on it.
Yes.
So I'd recommend we do the same for the next meeting, just to get,
Well, let's ask, is there anyone out there that would like to
Discuss.
discuss or bring up an issue about the
So-
renaming of the movie theater?
Some young person who might have an interesting name for the movie theater that they would like to visit and
A lot of young people back there.
anyone want to pay to have their name on it?
If you were going to a movie theater, what name would you like to go to, that would draw your attention? Would it be like Monroe Movies Deluxe or, yeah.
All right, so for everybody in the whole town of Monroe, not to make you nervous, and this will be online, not to get you nervous. Take it easy, take a breath.
Thousands of
You
people
got
will be
this.
watching.
You got
Yes.
this. You
If
got
I'm
this.
being completely honest,
No, first you
Right.
have to give us your name.
Yes.
And you live in a town or village?
yes, my name is Chase Kahn, and I live in Woodbury. And if I'm being completely honest, I would love to keep the name Monroe Theater because I think it really keeps Monroe as like a town, and I think it's pretty awesome that like Monroe has a theater, and I think, I think it's pretty cool to say like, oh, I'm going to Monroe Theater because it's local and keeps the name strong and shows that like Monroe is a town and has things to do and places to go and movies to see.
All right.
Chase, thank you very much.
Well,
Well
thank you.
put, well put.
Thank you for your input. That's like a crazy.
Well, that's the voice of the young people.
Okay.
Anybody else? So we'll table that for now. And
Well, we'll table that to the next meeting and then take it up at that time.
And remember, shop local.
Thank you very much for your input.
Okay. Next, we have a discussion on Water District 8. That would bring up Ms. Bingham.
Okay, Supervisor Cologne apologizes, he wasn't able to be here tonight. He did.
Excuse me?
Oh,
I'm here.
Cardone, excuse me,
Where's Waldo?
Supervisor Cardone apologizes he couldn't be here tonight because he did spend a lot of time up at Water District 8 today, the Hilltop area, along with our Highway Superintendent Mike Sherney, John
folks.
Sherney. Boy, I'm just...
Hey, folks, could we keep the talking down, please?
This all started because a resident from Hilltop said they were having problems with their water pressure. So our highway department is now responsible for maintaining the water districts. So we acted immediately. We got a plumber on a consulting basis to go out there, which then led us to look to the people who installed the control panel. And then that led us to look at the water tower that was also up there in Water District 8. So a lot of time has been spent on this. It seems that there's a possibility the water tower was not releasing water at the rate it should be. There was a gate valve that had to be replaced. So some of the people did receive a boil water notice. This is more precautionary. There is chlorine in the system, but since we weren't sure exactly as to how much water had been treated or not treated, this is precautionary. We've been in touch with the County Board of Health, and it's safe to use, but to be super safe, we want you to boil the water. So please do that. We are still working on the problem to resolve the water pressure issues in Water District 8, and hopefully this is going to be resolved in the next few days, depending on when the storm hits, because that would impede the highway people's ability to go out there and do some more work on that system.
Okay.
So-
That's great. Thank you, Mary.
All right,
I know
thank
you, Mary.
You've done a lot of work on that since the gentleman was here at the last meeting with the other person that lived there. And
Right.
that's great that,
Excuse me? Not yet.
this has been going on for how long?
4 years, I think.
4 years.
It goes back to when the town had a private water contractor, and for whatever reason, there was a valve, I think it was called a gate valve, was turned off when it should have been turned on. So we're being super cautious now. We're getting all our ducks in a row to make this system work efficiently for all the people in that water district, not just the people down at the bottom, but even the people on the top of the hill,
And the ducks.
and the ducks.
Okay.
Great work.
I'd like to just skip to one thing. While we have young people here, I'd like to talk about the town park applications, facility use, licensing agreement. Anne Marie, please.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, everyone. Before I begin, I'd also like to point out, is this okay? Okay. Jim Rogers has been helping me also. He's been very busy lately. Not only is he looking at lights, but he accompanied me up to Monbassia Park, and we took a walk, and we looked at some of the irrigation issues that we believe we have. So I think he's a valuable resource. We had an appointment to go over some other paperwork that he had in his possession, but we had a few storms, so we have to still reschedule that, and hopefully we can do it later on this week. Okay?
Excellent.
So what you all have received over the weekend or on Friday was some new forms. I hope you've all had an opportunity to look at them. So 2 of them refer to Monbassia Park. And Mary had some questions over the weekend, so we were emailing back and forth, and I think I copied some of you or all of you on it. And then I had also sent Mary the current application that we have now, and I think you'll agree it's
Much more detailed.
Yeah, the one we have now is much more detailed. The other one was really it was not going to help me do the job that I need to do. So the forms have been redone. There's also an agreement, a user agreement, that spells out very succinctly what everybody's job is. And that would be the people who will be using the fields and the people, us, that will be maintaining the fields. In addition, on the application, there are rules and regulations. The rules and regulations were never passed out before because we didn't have any. So they were filling out an application, and I surmised what was happening was there were some oral rules that were discussed, and perhaps as things went along, they addressed it. But I think what you have before you is a pretty comprehensive, at least all the things that we could think of. Brian and I worked on it, and another attorney from Brian's office. So, there's our 3 sets of eyes and all of yours. So, I think we've got it covered, and if perhaps something comes up during the year, we'll add it next year. We'll make the update next year. But this will help me in knowing who's up there and how many people we should be expecting, and rules and regulations. And then, of course, once I get all that done, Mary Ellen will have the originals in her office, as she should, and we move forward. So one part of this, of the 4 items, So the 5.1, that is, there's some feedback. Can you hear that? Oh, it's a phone, okay.
Sorry.
Is that you?
Your time's up.
Is that you?
No, it's me.
So these two specifically, as I said, refer to Monbassia Park. Then while we were working on it, there's another form, which is a little different on the front, and it's TMAC, Berry Road, and O&R Properties. So we figured while we were working on this, we would update this so they would be similar.
Right. Now,
Okay.
I had a question regarding if somebody wanted to use the pavilion at Monbassia Park. In years past, it was very informal, I guess.
Well,
And
yeah, it was
the form
informal
was-
and almost, it wasn't used in the way that other pavilions are used, where people make an appointment and they
Have a family gathering
Exactly.
or something like that.
Yeah. I think
So-
what was happening was after a game, they were hanging around using the picnic benches, but, not for birthday parties and things like that. But I think that's something we should consider, that, it's a revenue generator, and we should have things that pertain to that. So that, I believe you guys should be working on, along with Mary Ellen and the clerk's office, to
As a
determine your...
totally separate,
I think so, yeah, because what I really need to have done is I need the application and the licensing agreement
For the leagues.
approved tonight, so I can move forward. Those leagues have filled out the old forms, but I really need them to fill out the new forms. And then I want to go over with each league independently what the rules or regulations are and what our expectations are and what their expectations are.
right, but we would want to make sure there's no conflict, too. If somebody has a family gathering, wants to use the pavilion, and there happens to be a baseball game that same day, that, there would be adequate parking, there would be
Right, and
adequate...
that's what I wrote back to you, that,
Right.
I felt I was the best person to do that, rather than go through Mary Ellen's office, because she won't know the games that are set up, or if there's a change, and clearly there's always a change when we have rain dates and things like that. So
Right.
I would be the point person, and then the fee would be something you have to decide. And as Mary Ellen is working on her fee schedule, this would be another fee that should be added to that.
Right. I had a question. Smith Clove Park charges $250 for the field and $250 lighting.
For the lighting, we don't have lights up at Monbassia.
Okay.
So it's a total of 500, and then I called over to Woodbury, and they also do 500. So that's a separate part, but that is also, part of here. So that is, I think, 2 or 3 down on the line there. But I
Right.
think 500, it's a security deposit. The expectation is that they would be
Refundable.
getting that back.
Right.
Okay, because, we're assuming there won't be any problems. And if everything goes as I think it would, there's going to be constant communication, so I don't see a problem. However, should something happen, we have a $500 security deposit.
Okay, and all these leagues have used these fields before,
Yes.
so we have some experience with
We do.
them. They're all community, local leagues. They're not like coming from Connecticut. They're all local.
Well, they are local, the ones that are on the team. So for instance, the travel team are made up of more than half Monroe residents. They perhaps will be playing against people that are outside the area, but more than half of the team are Monroe residents.
Right. it's a
The
Monroe
Little
team.
League is a combination of all of our residents, because they use all of our fields. They use Woodbury, they use Smith Clove, they'll use this one.
Okay, that answers my question.
And the same thing with the soccer. Soccer, it's kind of it's a mutual agreement between all of the municipalities that they all use the same fields for different games and different leagues.
Right. Thank
So
you.
at this point, we're moving to adopt the applications
Yes, please. Yep.
at this point.
It's the Town of Monroe Facility Use License application.
Folks, we'll give you a few minutes, and we'll let you go in a minute or two.
And then the other one is it's a use license application, but specifically for Monbassia Park.
Right, and so what's different about that is that really is a one-time use, much like you had the YMCA come in and I think they did a color war, or they did a race or something that they used O&R property. The Boy Scouts also use Berry for overnight camping, and other activities. So that's more of a one-time use. And we kept TMAC in there, not to be confused with birthday parties and other things that are regularly scheduled that takes place at TMAC. This would be for an event that may come up that we haven't even thought of. That's a one-time use.
Like a film
Film
festival.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, so the
So-
board knows we tried to, the lengthy agreement is obviously for the leagues and the organizations that are using the Monbassia on a seasonal basis, which required a more in-depth agreement. Insurance and all the provisions and the other agreements are a little more scaled back since they're typically one-time use or, very short-term uses.
And we have to determine a fee schedule, so we'll leave that open at this point?
Yes, so
To be
the fee
determined on that.
schedule that Mary was referring to for like renting a pavilion doesn't need to occur tonight, but it should occur soon.
Right.
Okay, because I could get a call next week and I want to be even-handed.
Okay.
So what I'm really looking for tonight is the approval of the application and the user agreements. And then in there is the $500 security deposit. So I think as it's written here is 5.1, and I'm looking for 5.4. And then I'll talk about 5.2 and 5.3 in a second. Did you want to keep it separated?
Right, I
Right.
think for board docs, I think it
Let's-
works better if it's separated.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So-
what I figured. So if you want to do 5.1 first, right?
Facility use,
For the dues designation representative?
So what I would be looking for is a motion to approve the application and the license agreement for Monbassia Park.
I'll make a motion that we accept the license, application and the license agreement for Monbassia Park.
I'll second that.
All right, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, 5.2.
Oh, wait,
No.
Anne Marie, that was just
5.4.
Monbassia.
That
Well,
was just Monbassia.
Before we get to that, unless we should amend that motion, it was not just Monbassia, there's also the other application for the other facilities in that same motion.
I was
Correct?
actually going to do two. That one for the Monbassia to be separate from the
From this
one-time use
Okay.
for
okay.
TMAC, Berry,
So we're-
and O&R.
But we're still on 5.1 then?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we accept the Town of Monroe facility use license application for the other properties, which include T-Mac, Berry Road Park, and O&R properties.
And I will second that.
Thank you. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin, aye.
Okay. And then scheduling a public hearing for, that's block grants.
Okay, so now we'd be on now we're on 5.2.
5.2, which is
So the
block
league
grants.
usage.
Why does it say block grants here?
No, it's 5.2 is league usage at Monbassia Park.
No, I have a different schedule here. Can you just give us a moment?
No, sure.
We'll let the kids go.
Do they need to sign things?
No, we did already.
They're signed.
So let's just take a 2 minutes
Oh,
to let
I-
the kids go at this point. Well, it's too late now.
We still got a
We'll
couple.
we'll make that motion.
For those of you that are looking, that are still here, that have hung in there, we appreciate it. And we will be looking for part-time workers for the
For the
boat
theater, for the
pavilion.
boathouse.
At the boathouse.
So good things come to those who wait, so thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, just contact the office and leave your name and number, get an application.
And don't tell your friends that left early.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to take off now, all the high school, everybody who we signed,
But you're welcome to stay.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ah, you get a signature.
Need one more signature.
One more, he's up on camera now, it's official. The rest of yours bailed on you. All right,
There was
Ed.
a couple that still needed them.
Too late now. Good luck to you.
Some of them didn't, some of them needed.
Yeah.
It's on there.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
There's going to be another one, too.
The board can always extend their
Well, that's up to them.
Hey, Emery, while you're standing there, can I just ask a quick question? So the other towns that you kind of canvass with this charge a $500 user fee for fields and
It's a security deposit, not a fee.
okay.
Okay, so it's a security deposit, which is the expectation is that it would be refunded if there is no damages.
Okay.
Okay. A user fee, which would be a different fee, which is what Mary is
Right.
suggesting for the pavilion.
Right.
And yes, pavilions, all over have many different fees that I have found.
Okay.
So I think it's
I
whatever.
thought you said a $500 fee for the field uses. That's what
No.
I'm just trying, just for
Right.
deposit.
No.
That's just a
Right.
deposit.
Safety
It's
deposit.
only for a security,
Security
a
deposit.
refundable security deposit,
Okay.
should there be no damages.
All right.
Emery, a few
Beautiful.
years ago, though, we did, not recently, before, we did charge the 500, then it stopped.
Yes, and one of the people that had, one of the leagues that had filled the forms out, he did say that to me. So, I mean, it's not unusual, and it's.
Years ago, we did, and then the command of doing the fields changed, and
And then nothing was,
And nothing was
no
done.
rules were given. I'm not sure if there were ever any rules in
Or
the
paperwork.
beginning. I mean, there's a sign up there, with some rules, but that is clearly not.
Followed, yeah.
Well, it's just not sufficient.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
the truth be told, many things in our society have changed. One of the rules was no smoking anywhere in the park, which nobody ever paid attention to. So there's a lot of things legally that we could be put on the hook, we the
Yeah.
town. So those are things that have to be put in there. It's no longer that, oh, you can use the park. Things have gotten complicated over the years.
Right.
So-
And, no dogs, but, except for service dogs. But, it's also as simple as, deciding whether or not to play on a field. How do we determine that? How is it determined? And that they respect the if it does get closed, that no one is on the field. So there'll be a lot of, there'll be some growing pains, but I expect that we won't have any problems. Once we get through the first couple of times of different situations, I think it'll get ironed out. But that's a very important one, that, if there's standing water on a field, that, we don't use it. If there is a problem, they must report it, and they must stop playing. So there's a lot of rules that I'm not sure how they were executed before, but new day. So
Yeah,
we're
a
ready
lot of things
to
have
start.
changed, and
Do you think we could impose upon you to probably, to maybe give us some idea on fees, on a fee schedule for these
Oh, sure.
areas? Maybe we could just feel out what other areas, towns.
Yeah, I've already been calling around.
sure
They're
you
just
have.
kind of all over the place, is what I've found. They're not very consistent.
Uniform, yeah.
But I did find that at least for the refundable security deposit, they are.
Yeah.
So that's why it was easy to make that recommendation to you. The other ones are a little bit all over, but sure, I'll make a spreadsheet up, and I'll
That'd be
just do
great.
some of the
That'd
surrounding.
be fantastic, yeah.
And what are
Towns.
the fees for the lights again
Well, we don't have lights at Monbassia,
at Smith Clove?
$250.
Okay.
that's if they have a night game or something. Is that-
Let's just hope they
Yeah.
can get out there soon and play.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Someone called to walk the field with me. I said,
No, not yet.
it's 18 inches of snow. There's nothing to
crazy.
see.
Right.
There's a blanket on the soccer field still. Under that snow, there's a blanket for the grass. So it's going to be a while for us to get up and running,
it
and
was
we
the
have to
same-
get on there first and make sure it's playable. We mow, we clean up.
But I guess I think-
And this week doesn't sound good.
No.
I don't think it's going to get better by Wednesday.
Okay.
5.3 was the theater.
No.
Okay, so we're on 5.2 now.
Okay.
Okay, and that would be the league usage at Monbassia Park. So I would need a resolution for the following three leagues that are now going to be scheduled, with your permission. The Monroe Woodbury Little League, Monroe Woodbury United Soccer Club, and Crusaders Travel Baseball. The last one, remember, I had just said that more than half of the children on that team are Monroe residents.
Okay.
So,
Yes, it's a travel team, so. All right, so one resolution should cover all three.
yes, that would be, yeah,
All right.
that would sort of be your resolution.
All right.
what
For
I
the
just
league.
said.
Anyone want to make that motion for the leagues?
All right, so I'll make the motion that we approve the Monroe Woodbury Little League, the Monroe United Soccer Club, and the Monroe Crusader Travel Baseball Team at the usage at Monroe at Monbassia Park.
I'll second it.
All right.
Yeah, Marie, have they submitted the new application, or are you going?
They haven't, because we only
But
got it
will they?
approved right now, but what I do have is the old application, they're going to come back in, and we're going to go over all the rules and regulations together. They'll fill out a new form. As soon as that
Okay.
gets done, it goes to Mary
So
Ellen.
we'll just make that
So-
subject to receipt of
So I
the
was
revised
just gonna say
application.
To the new application.
Yeah.
And also to conform to the new rules and regulations that are passed tonight. So we'll add that, all right?
Yep. Do we charge them?
Do you charge them what?
Do they get charged for the field usage? I'm just wondering, I didn't know.
No, they get charged a $500.
Yeah, no, I mean, but there's no facility charge because
No,
they're,
no one does.
Okay.
Woodbury doesn't, Smith.
I didn't think so.
It's
I just
just
wanna make sure,
a
right.
refundable security deposit.
okay, I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page with that. Okay,
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
at this point, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
again,
And thank you.
Okay,
Now-
well, I have
now we have
5.3.
3, which is the Monroe Theater, the ticket prices and concession.
No, that's the help
Why do I
wanted
have something
advertising.
different here?
Yes, the help wanted advertising.
For the boathouse.
I got something completely
I
different.
think Tony might have tried to throw you
Switched
off.
up on me at the end.
yeah.
5.3.
You want this? You have it.
All right. So this is a discussion to approve placement, a help wanted for the
Boathouse.
boathouse.
So,
And some staff?
we haven't even ourselves discussed, and I'm not sure if you have all discussed what your plan is, but my expectation is that we're going to open it. You all just have to decide what constitutes opening it, but I know I'll need staff there. So I would like to get the ball rolling on getting an ad in the paper. Next week, a lot of some of the college students will be home for Passover and Easter, so I would like the ad to hit next week. So if we don't do it tonight,
No,
the
we
next
gotta-
board meeting is after that time period. And this also allows me that if we don't get enough applicants, that I can run it at least 1 or 2 more times. I'll also use Channel 22 and our website, but I'd like to get at least one ad in the paper, and I would like to have it strategically for next week.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we,
Oh, wait a minute, sorry. I would also like to add to the ad, Monroe residents preferred. That is something that we used to do years ago. We always made sure it said that in the ad. And as I'm looking in the help wanteds in the last 2 weeks to see what other municipalities are putting in, and lifeguards and things like that, almost all of them put, matter of fact, I think one yesterday said Village of Florida, residents preferred for a Village of Florida position. So I really think, well, I would like to ask you if I can include that in the ad.
Sure.
so
Maybe we
that
could also clarify Village of Harriman residents, because sometimes people get confused. They say, I live in Harriman, that's not Monroe, they're asking for Monroe, so,
Right.
Yeah.
if we could include that
The
as well.
incorporated towns as well.
I can,
I mean,
I'll
villages.
write something up, so I think it'll be, and naturally the surrounding areas, but I really think, it's Monroe taxpayers
Yep.
support that position, and I think it should be for Monroe residents. If you agree, then
Yes.
if you'd put that in the
So,
resolution, I'd
in the
appreciate
papers,
it.
and also we can get that on 22 as well.
22 and our website, absolutely, because
All
it's
right.
free.
So, we got a second on that?
I'll second it.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
again,
And now,
And the last one is what we've already discussed, but I think we need a resolution so that it's clear. And it's not just in the form, because it is in the forms now, but I think we need a resolution to reflect
the $500.
a $500 refundable security deposit for league usage at Monbassia Park.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we have a $500 deposit, security deposit for the league usage at Monbassia Park.
I will second that.
all right, any further discussion? Call the question, please.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time and effort with these contracts, something long overdue.
When does
Thank
that
you.
boathouse look to open? What's the tentative date?
You know, over the last few years, I looked at their start dates, and they are a little all over that place. Some years it opened as early as Memorial Day, and then went through Columbus Day. But it all depends on,
Correct. Yep, we know.
The direction
depends
of
on
the
what
board.
you'd like to do. Yeah.
Direction of the board, weather.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd like to be ready with staff. And again, we haven't even gone down to look at what may or may not need to be done. You know, my priority right now is Monbassia Park Fields, to get that up and running, because that'll be the first thing that gets utilized. We need the parking lot striped. We need some safety things that I'd prefer not to discuss right now in this format, but there's definitely some things that need to get done before we open. So
Okay.
that's my priority.
Excellent.
All right, great, thanks.
Thank you again, Ms. Morris. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Okay. Mudna. The Watershed Intermunicipal Council membership, dues, and designated representatives. So at this point, we have to discuss the Mudna Creek intermunicipal agreement and designate representatives as well as an alternate rep.
Is this from the Conservation Commission?
This is
It
from...
is.
Yeah, this is, I don't think this is the.
This isn't the sewer district. This
No,
is
it's
the-
not.
This
No.
is the,
Yeah.
Right,
This is the
if Ward
watershed.
wants to come up, is,
Make the distinction?
yes.
Ward Brower Conservation Commission. There is a Mudna Basin Drainage Commission. That is not the Sewer Commission.
right.
This was established as a result of Superstorm Sandy and all those Irene and all those other things. When Washingtonville, if you remember, looked like Venice without the without the attractions and everyone. So the funds came for that, but it's been meeting ever since. We on the Conservation Commission have always been designated to represent the town. Now the town does pay a dues,
Right.
membership dues, and it's a good organization. A lot of qualified people, a lot of input, and a lot of help coming from the Orange County Planning Department. And then people like Jay Beaumont with years of experience. You got a lot of high caliber brain power there, and we always recommended that we continue our membership in there. And it's been traditional that since it's primarily environmental, water resource and whatnot, so we, on the Conservation Commission, we normally get assigned that job.
So
Is there,
John Ebert,
who's designated this year to handle that?
Would it be
board?
John?
Or 817, I mean.
This year hasn't been done, to my knowledge.
Right. So
But up-
2017, there wasn't a designated person from the Conservation Commission?
Yes, there were. There was John Ebert, the chair, and I was the alternate member.
Okay.
And it's been like that because frankly, no one wants the
So
job.
We'll do the same
We'll
then?
do the
Yeah.
same.
And so I think don't quote me exactly, but I believe it was $500 per year, but I'm not.
Yep, I have the
I
invoice
think
right
it was
there.
fine.
Like I said, and right now, I'll give you a short, what they're doing kiosks throughout the drainage district, and they'll set up a small display, and it's trying to make the public aware of how to treat our drainage district, because when we don't treat it, we had examples from those superstorms, what happens when you neglect it. You pay a severe damage price.
Flooding, street
So-
flooding, houses.
And that's pretty much about it.
All right, thank you, Ward, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, Ward.
So I'll make a
So-
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mary.
I was going to say, I'll make the motion to make John Ebert the representative, the designated representative for the Boudna Creek Watershed Intermunicipal Council, and Ward Brower as the alternate.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye. Then I think we have to make a motion to pay the membership dues as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we pay the $500 membership, 2018 council membership
I'll
dues.
second that. I'll second it, Cologne second. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. Zoning amendment?
No. Community.
Why do I have a different?
It's 5.6 is the schedule of the
5.6.
public hearing for the community block grant.
No, I have something completely different.
See, Tony did this to you on purpose. just to
Yeah, he
throw you
did.
off.
He did.
Might be to thank him
He's trying to make you look.
Yeah. Not doing you any favors here.
I don't have it. Yeah.
Do you
It's
want
the whole thing.
Do you want this or?
Gave it to
I got
You
one.
got it? Okay.
Okay, scheduling public hearing for the community development for block grants.
Right, we need to have a public hearing. We need to have, Mary Ellen probably would give us the date for April 2nd, I'm assuming.
I'm assuming April 2nd, it says here. Discuss and approve public hearing as required be held April 2nd. Propose project ideas for the community development block grants applications. Mary Ellen?
April 2nd, 7:40?
April 2nd, 7:40?
Yes.
Okay. Make note of it.
Okay.
So we have to vote on that?
I'll make a motion that we set up the public hearing for the community development block grants at 7:40 on April 2nd.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
And that's 5-6.
Then comes,
Trees?
no, Monroe Theater ticket concession stand pricing, Sal.
Oh, dude.
I got 5-3.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
5-6.
Tony threw you off.
He's testing.
Gotta thank
you.
him later. Okay, at this point is the Monroe Theater ticket and concession stand pricing.
Okay,
Is
so.
there someone coming up for that, or
Yeah.
down?
I went down last night and I met Justin, did some quick observations. Our prices are cheaper on the movie theater tickets compared to other areas, and I think we should raise the ticket prices personally.
That's been a hot, part of the idea that since we, as the town, own the theater, we've tried to keep the prices as low as possible to get volume as far as attendance. And we've always been cheaper than the other theaters in the surrounding area. And right now, the ticket prices are how much?
It's like $7.50, $8. They're like 10 in other places. 9.
Lorraine is the expert. She goes
the
to the
guru.
movies all the time. Right. Residents, if they have the card showing that they're a resident, they're allowed to pay $7.
7.
Right, but usually somebody coming from the outside would be $9. I think there's a senior citizen discount too for $8, but I'm not exactly sure. Oh, Lorraine says, I don't know. She's
There was a senior discount at that.
Right.
And in Middletown, it's a lot higher, correct?
Correct.
But wait, you're comparing which Middletown theater? There's the one off of Dawson Avenue near National Wholesale
Galleria.
Liquidators. Well, Galleria, you're talking about a multi-cineplex with, well, like 14 theaters, I think, there. You know, we only have 3. I don't think we want to necessarily, with
No, we don't want to-
reclining seats and,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, so I don't think we necessarily
I still think we're
qualify
very
to that
cheap.
level.
I think we're very cheap.
We're more of a discount,
Right.
yeah.
And,
I'd also like to address the food there, too. I think we could do a better job with the food, personally.
All right, what I would like is
Can we table this?
table that and have further discussion with the board members, and also invite anybody from the town that wishes to make comment at this time. Yeah. Let them have it.
Hi, Lorraine Loaning, Village of Monroe. I want to talk about the movie theaters. I talked to Mary this weekend about it, and this is documented. I go to a lot of movies. I keep hearing Monroe being compared to AMC. Sorry, there's no comparison. This weekend, AMC had 17 different movies that I could go to. 17. You had 3, okay? So if you cannot compete on product, you better compete on price, and you're not competing on product. When I go to AMC, I whip out my Fandango app. I pay $12.49 all the time. I get reserved seat. I could show up 2 minutes before the theater starts. I got my seat. No one's in that seat. That's my seat. I have sound system, like, never craps out on me. It always works. It's excellent. It's just a good product, a good experience. You are not in that ballpark. I go to a lot of other local theaters where you're more similar to Destinta, Chester, and your pricing is more in the ballpark with that. I was at Destinta this weekend. I paid $7.50, okay? But I will tell you this. I am a Rewards Club member there, and for every $100 I spend, I get a $10 gift card. And during the month of my birthday, January, I get a free ticket, a free popcorn, and a free drink. So if I'm paying a little bit more, I'm also getting rewarded for some loyalty. So if you're going to start raising prices, folks, you better be in the business of delivering a product. Because right now, it's okay. Oh, and at AMC, I know I'm going to get those movies opening weekend. Here,
Right.
I'm going to get a movie. I saw the Post opening weekend, and then it played in Monroe, I think 6 weeks later. And then, like, how come no one showed up? I'm going to tell you why no one showed up, because I already saw it 6 weeks ago, okay? So if you're not going to, I'm going to say this until you guys get it. If you are not going to compete on product, you need to compete on price, okay? And even your concessions, they're a little lower, but not like stupid lower. I mean, like maybe $1 or $2, depending on the time of day you go. So I think you need to proceed with caution. You are not in the AMC realm, and if you think you are, we need to chat more offline. But you need to know what you are and price it accordingly. And what I hear from you guys is not the experience that I'm having at the movie theaters. So I just want to kind of let you know.
Well, thank you for your...
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else at this time? Well, stands to reason that we'll move right along, unless somebody else has further comment. Thank you. What do we have next?
Zoning amendment?
Zoning amendment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I know what that is.
Okay, because
Go ahead.
They could have done a better job putting that in there, so.
Yeah, could have.
You know, so, all right, so
Enlighten us.
would you like me to go ahead?
Enlighten, yes.
Enlighten yous?
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that, Councilwoman Bingham. All right, so we received a letter from Artie Management's attorney, George Lithgow, and his client's Artie Management was looking for the town to change or add as a use daycare centers to the business park overlay. Business park overlay, of course, being basically, the very, very, bottom end of Larkin Drive where it goes into the main shopping center area of, Target, Walmart, Home Depot, BJ's, and all those stores. So apparently it was in there prior to the master plan revision. It was taken out, and he's asking for it to be put back in. He provided documentation that a for-profit large child daycare center outfit or company was looking to open up a facility there. And so we got this letter, and basically that's what this discussion is about. I think probably the best thing we could do is get a determination from the town planner, just as a matter of practice, who's no longer Bonnie Franston. It's Max Stack. So just to get an idea of how that figures in with the rest of the plan, whether it's a good idea, bad idea.
Well, having been on the planning board, I'll say I don't like the idea.
Well, let's talk about it.
Go, Mary.
Go, Mary.
There is a daycare center not very far away from that facility already. The town code at that time said it had to be on a county road.
No.
You know, that's what the regulations were at that time. With the new town comprehensive plan, I don't think that line is in there, but that is not a good location simply because Larkin gets backed up at the holidays. Do you want some poor child waiting when mom and dad is supposed to come at 3 o'clock to pick them up and they're stuck in traffic? You know, we have other plans for Larkin Drive, and I don't think it's a fit right now. We can definitely talk to the planner, but I will give him my input as well.
That's, and we appreciate that. I know you put a lot of time on the board, the planning board, and that's certainly, you know,
Yeah.
good advice for us to listen to, so appreciate that. Well, I think, you know, let's hear from the planner, see what he has to say, and then we'll take this up at the next meeting.
Next
We'll
meeting,
take it up
sure.
at the next meeting.
All right, so I'll table this until the next meeting.
Yes.
Do we need to make a motion to have the planner provide an opinion on this?
If it depends, if they're on a regular contract where you have an hourly fee schedule, you can just ask for a sort of informal, you know, preliminary opinion on the request. If there's an amount to be expended, you know, outside of some contract, I believe you have a contract with the planner that has an hourly fee schedule.
Right.
If that's the case, you can just authorize, you know, a simple resolution to request a preliminary opinion from the planner on that request to add a child care center in the Business Park Overlay District.
Yeah,
We have
not
to make
add,
a-
but to review and advise if a child care center is
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, the
advisable.
request is to add it, so
Right.
that's what they'd be reviewing, because we have a
Right.
letter. We could forward Mr. Lithgow's letter and ask for an opinion, you
An
know, from the
opinion, right,
planner on
because,
that.
you know, if you say the word add, it sometimes skews the person's viewpoint.
No, understood. I was only saying that because that's what
Right.
the letter says. That's what they want to do, is add it, but that's what we're asking an opinion
Well,
on.
at this point, could we make it an informal request of the planner instead of voting on it? And
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they're on contract, the supervisor can just, you know, say the board discussed it and we want to give a preliminary opinion.
I think
I
we'll
don't
just
think it's
pass
going to
that
be anything expensive for a short, you know, email saying their thoughts on it.
so we'll pass that along to the supervisor.
Okay. All right.
Trees for Tribs.
Mary?
Okay, Monroe is part of the Hudson River Estuary, and the DEC has a program now where landowners who have a stream can plant small trees. They're not big. They're very small trees, maybe 2 feet tall, something like that. It's called Trees for Tribs. They want to repair the buffers around the streams to prevent erosion and things like that. It's a good program. We missed the first deadline, which was March 1st, but there's another deadline in August. So this information should be on the website, well, with board docs. It'll be part of the agenda. Again, I hope people will look into this. As the town does its MS4, we might be looking to also purchase some of these trees for town properties. We'd probably be calling upon maybe like the Conservation Commission or some volunteers to look into that as well. Ward, you seem to have a question.
Ward of Broward from the Conservation Commission. About 2 years ago, we had a rep from this organization and another one. They will not only supply trees, they will also supply labor.
They'll plant
If
them.
you can,
Oh.
yeah, they'll help
Okay.
planting. Where I know in the Conservation Commission, when we had to do, 5 years been working on
You had
it,
that
we had a
other one.
hard time getting any kind of public support to help plant these trees.
Right. These
Where-
trees are easier to plant because they are smaller. Your other grant had
It
much
was
larger trees.
Logistically, it was a nightmare.
You had
to be honest.
750 trees, I believe, was the number. Didn't you have some extraordinary number?
Well-
You had a lot of trees.
Which one?
The ones that the Conservation
one you're
Commission
talking-
finally
No, ours
planted.
came out, they were initially started out like 150, you're right. Then it was pared down to like a fraction of that. Trees
they got bigger. Right.
And then once they get bigger, the whole logistics go out. You needed a backhoe, and then you had, if the town highway department didn't step in, that never would have happened. So that became a nightmare. But these are much more manageable, and if you contact contact that person, Mary, if you...
There's actually, since this will be on the town website, there's an applications are available for download at www.dec.ny.gov/lands/43668.html. But this is part of the Board
I
Docs.
think you can get a rep from that organization, or we had actually 2 to show up. They will be happy to fill in all the information, and it's really, it's taxpayers' money put to good use.
And it says,
Because they know what they're doing, they come in with the expertise, the trees are manageable, you don't need all the heavy equipment, and
right, most
but-
plants are between 2 and 5 years old.
Yeah.
And the
This is
species
just-
offered will be determined on a site-by-site basis depending on availability and
free,
existing
correct?
they're
conditions.
free, and it's really sponsored by the DEC.
Yes.
Yes, that's if you can reach out and find that contact person. I asked John, but John somehow lost the contact number. This was a couple of years ago.
Okay,
But
I'll go back on the DE site.
Be on the website, too.
Contact those, because Mary, for the money, you can't beat it.
Right,
Free is good.
right. So
Thank
as
you.
I said, we missed the March deadline, but it's coming up again in August, so let's stay on top of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, so Mary, let me, just to kind of get this straight, so if you live, it says, in the vicinity of the watershed, Hudson River
River.
Estuary watershed, so that's private property, public property?
Private property could get these trees as well.
Oh, okay. No,
Yes.
That's interesting, okay.
All right. So that's it. huh?
That's it, yes.
Okay. Public comment, what everybody's waiting for?
Well, I think we got one more thing, Rick,
What do we
before we
got?
jump into that. The
Rick
payment
Cannon.
of the town water operator?
Remember,
Yes.
the one
How
that's...
could I forget the payment of the water operator?
Well, Rick Cannon had worked for us for the whole month
For
of
the whole month of
February.
February, so-
So he was supposed to turn in keys. I haven't heard from Ricky Beams yet if the keys have been turned in, but I believe that was something that was in progress. Also, Rick Hannon was going to finish the February reports and give them to the Board of Health. I believe he already gave those to Roberta in Town Hall, so that aspect is done. The only thing we have to confirm is that the keys have been turned in. So I'd like to make a motion that we pay Rick Hannon for the month of February for the work he did for us, contingent upon the keys being returned, and that we verify that Roberta
Reports are in.
has the reports.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, just, I don't know, did we kind of just make the public aware of where we are with our, because I think we never.
We talked about it the last
Did we
meeting.
talk about it the last
A
meeting?
little bit, that the water department was going to be
Okay,
taking
the
over
water
now, and they're going to
department's gonna be taken
school,
over by highway at this point, so.
and they're going to school, and,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that should be a big savings to all the residents that are involved in water districts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, disregard, sorry about that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call the question, please.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Again,
Okay, so that wraps it with now. Without any further ado, public comment.
Lorraine Loning. We are having a problem with Board Docs right now. It disconnected us from the internet. The Wi-Fi. We're having trouble with the Wi-Fi.
Ms. Loring, haven't heard from you in a while. Good to see you again.
Still Lorraine Loning, still Village of Monroe. I already talked about the movie theater stuff, so I don't want to belabor that. But I do, I'll synopsis.
I think you made a point.
I did, but I mean, it's like the McDonald's people saying, I can only charge $2 for a hamburger, but Tavern on the Green's charging 28. Different experiences, so.
We got you.
Got it. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the lighting districts that Mr. Rogers talked about this morning. Oh, no, earlier.
evening.
It only seemed like hours ago. Please be mindful when you start removing lights. Something in the neighborhood of 40,000 people die in motor vehicle accidents every year, and well-lit roads mitigate that. So if there's some overlay that you can look at, see where there's a high propensity for accidents or incidents, stuff like that. So while everyone wants to save a buck, saving a life is way cooler. So if there's some way that you could kind of look into that before you just say, hey, let's get rid of the light. There must be some data on that kind of stuff. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all? You did have a resident ask to speak, but it was at 8 o'clock, so I did tell the resident that they couldn't speak because it was past the time.
Is the resident
Is
here?
that resident here?
The resident is still here.
So,
Can we make an exception since there only seem to be so few
Mr.
speakers?
Brown, would you like
The board
to
is
come up?
free to allow somebody to speak if you
I
wish.
would like that individual to come up. Oh, is it Ward?
Unfortunately, that was my point, is that sign-up is too restrictive. Today I had a rough schedule, and I had to go to Kingston, and got back late and came in here when I didn't want to interrupt the meeting, and that was really my point. I think that part of the rule needs to be a little bit of flexibility, and I appreciate that.
We're being flexible.
I understand that. And the other part, case in point, was I'm finally glad that the ambulance corps were getting that solved. My point, I'm going to hammer this again. I agree with Lorraine with the theater, but as far as I think, get those department reports back monthly. Email is fine, but I know my wife's experience with email. I stay away from it. I don't touch it. She's on the delete button like 20 minutes a day. They don't read these things. So forget about that. It just takes, contact like we had. Once the ambulance corps got here, talked to you, things started to happen. For 3 years, back and forth electronically, doesn't get it. Bring back. It's tried and true. It worked for, as I said, for generations. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ward.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to make a comment at this
It
time?
was failed.
Okay.
Would any of the board members care to make a comment at this time?
Just real quick, that's an excellent comparing any potential light removals to motor vehicle accidents. Good that you brought that up, and I'll make sure that when I talk to Tony about that and Mr. Rogers when they get together, that will be something that's really considered before anything's removed. And that should be those stats should be readily available from whether it be state police or Monroe Village or whoever. So we should be able to get that. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, I have a comment. In regards to the department head's monthly report, I'm not satisfied with all the reports that we're receiving, and we are missing some departments. We've missed them for years. So I don't know what this board will decide to do to enforce that these department heads supply us with information, because if we don't have information, how can we make a decision? Years ago, there used to be a 280A variance that needed to come from the ZBA for houses built on a property that had no public road frontage. That information was sorely lacking being shared with the town board, and zoning changes could have been done years ago. And now you have a lot of roads, Mr. Rogers said, on private roads that have all these lights, whether it's necessary or not, that's something this board will have to decide. But I think we really need to discuss what these reports, we want in these reports, and what happens if we do not get these reports. That's my comment. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just, Lorraine, I agree with you 100% also on the lights. I think it's a very valid point, very valid.
First thing that jumped into my mind was people's lives with lighting. To compare us to other towns, I don't think is quite fair. By population, we are the largest township in the county. We have an extraordinary amount of traffic going through, not only because of Woodbury, also Walmart, Target. So we tend to have a lot more traffic. Also, a lot of people come to Monroe to go to our supermarkets. So, I mean, we can cut out on some, but I think we have to look at that carefully. So, and again, also on the pricing of the tickets for the theater, I would prefer to keep them the way they are, simply because it's good for the town residents. So we'll look at that further. And with that, we have to go to executive session. So can I have a a motion on that?
No, just need a reason.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss a particular person or persons pending contract, litigation, and finance and credit information regarding a certain corporation.
All right, can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Call a question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
All right.
Yeah. Are these yours?
Yes,
Yeah, Friday before.
Amber, you didn't leave keys, did you?
Oh, those are mine.
Never
mind.
Those are McGinnis.
McGinn, ayes.
Okay, are we ready?
We're ready.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, the time right now is 9:50, amazingly enough. We're back from executive session.
Motion to return, please.
Motion to return, please.
I'll make a motion, we turn back into regular session.
I'll second that.
Call a question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
All right. At this point, we return from executive session. No decision has been made at this time. Anything else to add, Mr. Attorney?
No.
Okay.
Supervisor Cologne.
Acting supervisor. I have enough Tomms. Anyway, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? Call a question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
And that ends it for tonight. Thank you,
All right.
Monroe.